Hey, welcome everybody, man, to the audience out there that's following us, man. It's Tales from Jails, man. You know, we here today, man, with a great person, a great friend of mine, man. We're here at Pod Rooms USA Podcast, man. TNS is the media, the sponsor team, man. That's the whole family, man. Shout out to them. But I got a real special guest for y'all today, man. A good friend of mine that has a story, man. A very interesting story that needs to be out there. And, you know, I'm going to let him go ahead and take it from here, man. Let him know who you is, Phil, and your name and where you're from, man.
All right, this is Phil, man. I'm from 7th Street. You know what I'm saying? I've been down 25 years. Inshallah, I'll be home real soon. And I just wanted to get on this thing, speak my story and give some insight, to the youngins and the men, you know what I'm saying, what's going on in here and why they should stay out there, in society, man.
Well, man, you know, Phil, man, you know, I've known you for a few years now. We ain't just meet, man.
Ain't
And
no question.
from back then, I met you damn near 30 years ago.
Yeah.
30 years ago, damn near 30 years ago, I met you. And when I met you, it was in prison. And as of today, I just said we met about 30 years ago. You're still there. You understand
Yeah,
what I'm
of
saying?
course.
So tell them a little bit about yourself, man, and what led you to this long stint of, I don't know what's going on. Let everybody know what's going on with you, Phil.
All right, well, I'll be 45 next month. Out of 45 years, I've been in jail 30 years. You know what I'm saying? Been in jail 25 straight now. I did little skip bids in a juvenile place. But this whole situation basically started with me. I fell for homicide in '99, and I came home, got found not guilty by a jury of my peers in 2000. So I came home. I'm in the streets heavy, doing what we do in the streets, not proud of it, but that's what we do. We kids, we young men, we think the only successful way to make it is in the streets. So, I'm out there, then next thing you know, in 2001, I'm laying in bed with my girl, and her mom called, okay, it's 2, 3 in the morning. She asks if I'm okay. So when she said, yeah, you right here, we turned the news on and a murder happened. So next thing you know, next thing you know, I'm on the news for a murder. So, I didn't turn myself in. I don't do turn yourself in, what I mean? Because the end of the day is, I felt like I was innocent. Nobody want to be in jail. So I did what normal people do. I ran. You know what I'm saying? So next thing you know, this was August of '01. Next thing you know, in September of '01, you know, turn the news back on. This time, I'm on a run for 4 murders, 5 attempts. I was on the FBI 10 most wanted list. So, I knew I was in trouble. Reality of it. I said, damn, I'm going to jail. Now how can I prepare, for this long fight because I knew it wasn't going to be an overnight thing. And it ended up being 25 years. So eventually I got caught, in between 99 and 2006. I stood in front of a jury 6 times for murder. My case was so high profile. I went to court on Saturdays and Sundays. They sequestered my jury, put them in hotels, and they also I had an anonymous jury where I didn't know their names. So it stacked up against me. Being arrogant. I kept, I felt guilty, not guilty, not guilty. I kept getting found not guilty. And then the last trial that I took 3 trials to convict me, which what got me sitting here all this time. I got found guilty and went upstate. I was blessed in 2019 after going through all my appeal stages. No matter what lawyer you got, if it ain't time for you to go, if a law don't want you out there, you're not gonna go. Went through all my appeal stages, and 58 days before my 18th birthday saved my life because the murder I got found guilty for, I was a juvenile lifer. So I was blessed to go ahead and fight, and I was blessed to get 25. And the reason I got 25, the judge said, is because I came to jail. I wasn't running around stabbing niggas, beating niggas up. I stayed out the way, focused on, trying to fight for my life. Because once you get in here, all the silly shit is out the window. When you get that life sentence and they tell you you got life without parole, you start looking at things a little differently. It may take you 5 to 10 years, but the reality sets in.
Mm. Damn. So how long has it been that you've been down consecutively?
Well, I've been there since December of 2001.
Mm. And It's April 2026.
Yeah, man. I had curly hair when I was on the street. My beard wasn't gray. It sucks. Getting old sucks. You hear me?
Is there any relief in sight soon?
Yeah. Inshallah, y'all see me. This gonna be a short segment we do right here. This is only part one. Hopefully, I'll be on your couch. In the next 9 months with that black badge sitting outside. You know what I mean?
But I want to ask you a personal question to you. Something personal to you. It's a question that I was thinking about all night, man, that popped in my head. We usually talk on the phone together, but I didn't get a chance to ask you while we was on the phone. But I wanted to ask you, out of all this, to the point where you at now, right now, Phil, in life today, about being through all that you've been through, do you think the system failed you?
That's a hard question to answer, but if you want a clear answer, no. I'm not a victim. I was part of the problem. Inshallah, I'll be part of the solution. My whole thing is that I'm a convicted drug dealer. I sold drugs to my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? When you're young, everybody got flashy cars. You be a follower. It's easy to be a follower when you're a kid and you thinking of when you're doing right. Because all of us say we want to get our family out the hood. But at the end of the day, when we try to get our family out the hood, we also hurting our community.
What jail is it currently that you're
I'm going to rewind back on that now. This is why I said it's a hard answer to answer because I've been in juvenile places my whole life. I just still skipped it. And the same reason I say it's a hard answer because I think they just got to do better with the juvenile placements and all that. I didn't learn nothing. I just learned how to be a criminal. I went to jail, I think when I was 12 or 13 in Slayton Farms for simple assault. And I'm in a cell, I'm in a cottage, roomed up with drug dealers, people with attempted murder. So I learned how to do crime instead of learning how to rehabilitate myself.
That's something to think about, man, because, prison to the outside person looks like it's a correctional place. Like people actually go in there and be corrected. That's what it's.
Yourself.
Exactly. And that whole, your whole explanation, man, gave me a lot more insight on you, the person that you are today. Who you are today, how we sitting here and we conversing right now, and let me know where your mind state at. How you're going to come home in society. Like, it's crazy, man, that we had to go through certain things that we've been through thus far in life, and some bad than others, like jail. Jail ain't nothing that we want somebody to have to go through to finally get it right. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to walk that road. But
I'm going to say a quote real fast, because shout out to my man A1 CEO. That's my partner on the podcast.
Shout out to him.
He did an interview recently with Russell Barnes. Russell Barnes said something that really stuck to me. He said, you don't have to wait until you're behind the wall to realize this is not what you want. Yeah, man. And the thing about that is you lay in bed and you start reflecting and you realize that you did sucker shit, weird stuff, because nobody's perfect. You could introduce me to a perfect Pharaoh ball, give me his number so I could, learn from it, because nobody's perfect. But we don't take advantage of our freedom, the youngest, and you be stuck in here and you don't have to wait till you're in here to wake up and look in the mirror and be like, man, that's not what I want. I'm going to go ahead and straighten out, man, focus, man, get a job. This ain't for me, you know what I'm saying? Because it's two sides of this joint, man, and it's not where you want to be at.
I'm glad I got you up here today, Phil, because like I said, man, to the audience, this is a real personal, close friend of mine, man, and I haven't seen him in years. And it's just questions that I got to ask you in front of the public, man. Like it's just a couple other questions, and I'm glad that you can bless me with your time where you can get this message out to the mass. But I know, one thing I noticed about being in jail, especially when I was in there, that we keep our ear to the streets. You hear things, we call home, whether it's our kids, our mothers, our family members, our friends, and they tell you the goings on of what's going on out in society. And I know you've been hearing about the state of Philadelphia as you've been there, right? So my next question leads me to ask you, with the youth, with what's going on out here, the state of Philadelphia today, with all these young boys banging like we from Chicago or the gang. They got gangs now, Phil. They ain't had gangs when you was home, bro.
They didn't.
Like when you left, it was even repping South Philly, and that, I'm not saying that's something right, but it wasn't gangs. How you got the YBCs and the PMBs, and I don't like to mention it like I'm highlighting them, but it is a gang. But what you think the state of the youth is right now today out here in Philadelphia from just you hearing about it?
Well, I'm even though more than hearing about it, I'm living it because when they get life sentences, when they get 20 to 40s, they ain't here with me. So,
Dang.
you know, this is another part of society. You know, it's just the inside. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because, you know, and the whole thing is I'm not going to come on here and I ain't going to be the old head that shoot with peace on the streets. You know, the reason I think I got insight with this is because I'm not stuck. I'm coming home and I'm saying this. There's a difference when you stuck and you just be vulnerable and you just talking and all young boys be like, come on, old head, you stuck in there, man. Of course you. No, I'm coming home real soon. My thing is what it is that, you know, it's a touchy situation where it's a lot of things going on out there that shouldn't be going on. And we don't realize what we're getting ourselves into until it's too late. You know, I just left the table with three of my old heads. They got combined 140 years in. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Yeah, they trying to find a way out. You know, I
And you
feel
said they got that
uncomfortable.
in?
They got that in it. One got 41, the other one got I think like 42, and the other one got like 35, something like that.
Yeah, because I ain't want you to speed past that. That's a significant. That's what
Yeah,
these men got in right now, not what they
yeah,
got to do.
and I'm not gonna say names, but they legendary bulls. And the sad thing is, even with me, you know, time waits for nobody. You know, I don't care who you was on the street. 20 years from now, nobody gonna care who you was. It's gonna be somebody just like you or better than you. You
Mm.
know, your friends might respect you, your family might respect you, but you know, you gonna end up being just a dude that got another life sentence. And I just want to talk to the youth about at the end of the day, you know, don't wait till you ain't here with me before you want to make a change. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing thorough about being in here. And the bigger thing is, this is an era of getting money. I wish I was younger in this era. You can sit on your couch with a phone like my man doing right now and get money. You know what I'm saying? You know, I'm not telling nobody to sell drugs. I'm just telling people just to get money. Find legit hustles to do because there's a million of them. It's easier for us blacks now than it was when I was growing up. You know, it was a different type of poverty than it was back then. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I'm just trying to incite the people because I'm not even talking to the grown-ups because at the end of the day is I'm a firm believer is I let people be great. You know, people have their mind made up. People got grown kids. They going to make their choices. I'm talking about the youth, people that really don't know what they get themselves into, the 15, the 16, the 17-year-old. You go to war over nothing. You know, most of the wars be about somebody that died 20 years ago.
Mm.
And then now when you get in the war, one of your friends died, so now it's about you. When originally it didn't even have to be about you because it ain't had nothing to do with you. You know, like it was like my era, our era was an era like it was fair to get money. It really wasn't fair to be a shooter because nobody wanted to be around you. So now it's like reverse. And the sad thing is they come in here with me and they kids. They don't have no money. They don't have no support. They don't know how to clean a cell. You
Mm.
know, they don't know how to, feed themselves, wash their clothes. So, you know, yeah, man, it's sad what's going on, but you got people like Nomo, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Rick Duncan, you know what I'm saying?
Shout out to these men.
A1 CEO sending them children books to you so you can take a youth study center about building credit. He even got colored books for 5 and 6-year-olds. You got my man Anton Moore coming to my podcast in the next 2 weeks, Unity in the Community. You know, we need more people like that because he got a project out, right, youngin? He got a project out where he pay you to build houses. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, if you give a person a way to make an income, and at the same time, you get the craft. By the time you 18, 19, you can be an architect. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So we need more of that in the city, and that would maybe help curve things. Because I don't think you can stop violence. I think you could curve it or slow it down. You know what I'm
See,
saying?
there you go. You move. See, there you go. You jump. What you in my thoughts, man? Because my next question to you, right? Because this is a real big question right here that I'm ready to ask you, Phil. Because you know you've been in the next. Look, you in there now, Phil. So this question right here, I'm going to really want to hear your answer to this, man. You know, from your standpoint, not what the mass may think to do. I'm talking about from you living it, from you walking it every day, living, breathing, and sitting in that penitentiary. What can be done differently in the city of Philadelphia to slow this violence that we getting from these kids today?
Well, I gotta say and think about that. I think that you gotta grab them young now. You know, you gotta start maybe at 8 to 12. Because by the time we 14, see, I was like one of the young guys that was like an anomaly where it wasn't like a lot of people like me, like I was advanced at a young age. Now everybody running around acting suicidal. You hear me? So you got to
Yeah.
catch them early, between 8 and 12, and do things like I just said with Rick, Anton Moore. Shout out to Dot. You got to like grab them early and show them it's other ways. Like if you put $300-$400 in somebody's pocket every week and he learned a craft, it's more than likely now he can buy his own sneaks. Because
Mm.
at first when we come around, we hustle for peanuts. Like we hustle because we want new clothes, we want new sneakers, stuff like that. So if you got to give them opportunity, because that's what it's all about. You got to give people opportunity and show them that you could do better. You know what I mean? You don't have to go to college to be a millionaire. This is a different era. In our era, it was a thing to go to college, but it's really overrated. You just be in debt. You know what I'm saying? So the bigger thing that's not going to be a what's the word I'm looking for? This is not going to be a popular answer. Also, is that people got to do better with the parenting, and what I mean by that is that our era struggled so bad that we don't want our kids to grow up like we did.
Mm.
So we spoil them. You know what I'm saying? They ain't go through this. Excuse my language. They ain't never see when you just doing good and your friends doing good, and next thing you know, you see their mom on her knees in the alley, or their dad selling the refrigerator. They don't see that type of stuff. The kids just see the parents doing great. They buying them everything. They doing everything for them. They spoiled brats. They don't learn discipline and structure until they come to jail with me. You know what I'm saying? Because now you got to be a man at 16, 17. So instead of, in my opinion, this is my opinion. Everybody got opinions. This is my opinion. I might be wrong. I might be right. But in my opinion, we got to start being more a parent than being a friend. Because we want to be the thorough parent. My mom was a tyrant back in the day. Shout out to my mom. She was a tyrant. My mom, my best friend now, because I'm older now and I can sit back and I appreciate how she tried to change me. And I know what people thinking. Well, she ain't doing a good job. He's out there for 4 murders, 5 attempts. Both of my sisters got master's degrees. You know what I'm saying? We grew up in the same house. My mom treated me better than she treated them. But honestly, in my opinion, a woman can't raise a man 100%. You know what I'm saying? So, by being a single mother, you know what I'm saying, she didn't know how to talk me out of stuff. The punches ain't hurt after a while. Shout out to this era, though. The dads be taking care of their kids. I'm smelling that. You know what I'm saying? But, that's my answer on that, though.
Man, it was chilling to me. Your whole approach and how you grasp that answer just now, man, and put it out here for the mass to hear, it's going to speak volumes for a very, very long time, Phil. And I can see right now, and I can sit here and give you your flowers, bro. Before you even get home, man, that I know you, bro. We was misfits. We was over in them counties. We was dangerous kids, bro.
Yeah,
I don't watch you, not to put a negative light on it. I don't watch you stab dudes in their head and stuff like that for playing with your disrespect. For playing with disrespect, we was teenagers.
Yeah, no question.
And from to see you from all them years ago to now, to the mind capacity that you got now, wow. But at the end of the day, do it take jail for that? We trying to reach the next person for that.
And that's why I state that quote again. You don't have to wait till you behind a wall to realize this ain't what you want. The crazy thing about it is, when I got my sentence vacated, I think in 2016, I knew in 2012 I was going to get some rhythm. I didn't think they was going to bless me with 25. District attorney offered me 38. I had to fight for the 25. But even when I was 31, I used to sit back like, man, I was grown. They told me I was a juvenile. Shit, I was going on vacation. I was driving Benzes. I had 100 grand worth of jewelry on. Then I started sitting down and reflecting on why they gave me rhythm. And I reflected on that. Every night I sit in the cell and be like, Phil, that was some clown shit you did. That was some dickhead shit. I'm talking about when I was a kid. Nobody could check you better than you could check yourself. When you can check yourself, you're on the right road. And then I started realizing, I said, this is why they gave me another chance. Because I know my mind wasn't in the right state. You're not going to be the same person you was at 45 like I'm about to be at 20. Don't think if you was, something wrong with you.